Everton manager Davy Moyes joined the breakfast show on Monday morning and discussed exactly this. Take a listen.
I've been listening to you a bit this morning, and I think you've been talking about nearly all clubs talking about needing strikers, you know, and let's be fair, it's not, even at West Ham, I used to keep getting said, where, you need to buy a new striker, and I thought, yeah, you're probably right, but we couldn't find one, so we had to try and get Marko Arnautovic became a centre forward, Mickey Antonio became a centre forward. So sometimes you have to find it within if you can't find it. And look, it's something which is becoming. It's always been important. It's not as if it's just important now. It's always been important in football, but it's just felt probably a bit more difficult, definitely, to get people who can get those goals, which everybody needs.
Yeah, we talk about systems. We talk about one up front or two up front or one off. At the end of the day, someone who can put the ball in the back of the net, even at this current level of football, you know what I mean, this is the best ever. You still need someone to stick it back in the goal, don't you? You need someone who'll get you 20-plus goals. So, talking of Everton, right, with David there, Ali, the last time they had a real top-class striker, you have to go back probably to Lukaku, right?
Yeah.
26 goals. Where did Everton finish that season? 7th. So speaking of top-class strikers, can you see Ivan Toney coming back and getting a big club, Ali, before we go on to our man, Crookie?
I do, mate. Absolutely do. Because it's still the hardest thing in the game to do. No doubt about it. Putting the ball in the back of the net. That's why they're vital. And that's why you look at teams like City and Arsenal have been trying to get an out-and-out centre-forward that will get you goals. You know, Salah at Liverpool, I wouldn't say he's an out-and-out centre-forward, but he's certainly had a goal return as good as anybody's. But you're talking about Everton, listening to Big David, listening to Big Moyes, I mean, you'll go back to, you mentioned Lukaku, yes, but think about it, boys like Andy Gray, Big Sharpie, even before that, Bob Latchford.
Oh, yeah, 30 goals, over 30 goals, Bob.
Yeah.
Nah, you're dead right. So speaking of Everton, the last time Lukaku, 26 goals, 7th. You look at the table now, not doing too bad, 13th at the moment. Right, that's right. talkSPORT understands the only way for Ivan Toney to get back in the England squad would be a return to the Premier League, with even, if possible, a January loan move an option. Surely most Premier League clubs would be queuing up for his signature. So difficult to get one at the moment. So let's cross straight over to someone who can tell us exactly what's going on with Ivan Toney and his future. talkSPORT chief football correspondent Alex Crook. Crookie, good morning.
Good morning, Crookie.
Good morning. I don't think there's much in it, by the way, Ali, between you and Ben Stokes. If it was a beauty contest, it'd be a close run thing.
Crookie,
the one difference between them, Crookie, is Ben is going to the Ashes. Ali isn't. Never mind all this rubbish. I'll go and see wee Viv. He's getting no chance.
She keeps him on a tight leash.
The sad fact of the matter is he's probably right, Crookie, but I'm going to give him my best shot.
What about, so what is the situation, Alex, what's the situation here with Ivan? Because, he's not forgotten, but you tend suddenly his name comes out and say, oh yeah, how's he doing out there? It's difficult. It's going to be difficult for him to come and get a big club, or is it?
Well, listen, they would be queuing up, no question about that. You've mentioned Everton, West Ham, or another team in dire need of a number 9 because Nicholas Füllkrug looks like he's going to leave the club in January after what's been a really disappointing move. Thomas Frank, I know, would love to take Ivan Toney to Tottenham. I think he'd be perfect for him. Obviously, he was at Brentford. Yeah, Leeds, you mentioned as well. Probably half the Premier League would take Ivan Toney, even at the top level. Benjamin Šeško is struggling at the minute at Manchester United. I think if Toney was available on loan, even they might be excited. But it's difficult for 2 reasons. One, I think Ivan Toney is aware, actually, even if he's playing in the Premier League, that the prospect of him being part of that England squad at the World Cup is slim. I think Thomas Tuchel, in many ways, has already made his mind up when it comes to Ivan Toney. And 2, same with when Steven Gerrard was speaking to Rangers. If Ivan Toney was to leave early, he would have to write off a lot of money in terms of tax over there in Saudi Arabia. He only moved in the summer of 2024. Financially, is he really going to walk away from a £400,000 a week contract? I'm not convinced, boys, to be honest.
Crookie's a little bit in terms of the league over there, because in the build-up we said Thomas Tuchel wasn't really, having him unless he was back home. Is it a little bit out of sight, out of mind? And I know Ronaldo's out there, and I know there's a lot of top players out there, but is effectively the question I'm asking you, playing in that league, affecting his ability to represent his country?
Yes, I think it is, Ali, and I think it was quite damning, actually, if you remember that Thomas Tuchel admitted he'd not even been to Saudi Arabia to watch a game in person. Then he called him up. He only brought him on for a few minutes at the end of that friendly, the debacle against Senegal, Nottingham Forest, and you could see Ivan Toney sat on the bench with a face like thunder. But I think one of the reasons for that is that his levels, because he plays in an inferior league in training, were a lot lower than his teammates. So I guess it was difficult in many ways for Thomas Tuchel really to get a gauge of what Ivan Toney can bring, because he's not having to play at the same level he would if he was in the Premier League. I think he knew that when he went to Saudi Arabia, that it would be very difficult. Obviously, Jordan Henderson, when he was playing over there, was snubbed by England as well. He came back, obviously, and was immediately called up by Thomas Tuchel, and you have to say that decision has been justified. But there's so few games now after this international break. There's another break in March, then there'll be friendlies before the World Cup. My personal opinion, and I would include Jack Grealish in this, if you're not in this squad for these November internationals, I think it's going to be very hard for you to end up in the squad for the World Cup.
Alex, just give me a quickie on managers. Eddie Howe's getting a little bit, people are saying, oh, we've got to change it. Farker at Leeds, and also you broke the story about Marco Silva at Fulham. What's the latest, please?
Well, I think any noise around Eddie Howe is really only coming from social media. I think the Newcastle owners and the bulk of Newcastle fans see that he's got enough credit in the bank to turn this around. Farker's an interesting one because the Leeds hierarchy weren't totally convinced in his ability to manage in the Premier League before a ball was kicked, and I think those doubts will only intensify as their poor run of form continues. And when it comes to Marco Silva, Tony Khan, the Fulham owner, is flying over to try and hold fresh talks about a new contract. I think if Marco Silva continues to delay signing that deal, those tensions behind the scenes will only increase. And obviously, they're not playing particularly well either. So certainly the three, I think Marco Silva is the one to watch with most interest in the coming days and weeks.
Okay, Alex, thank you.
Have a good day, Cricket.
It's difficult, Ali. You know, you can wait too long to make a change, but I don't. Eddie Howe, forget it's a joke. You got to stay with Eddie. Leeds have been great. 11 points, just above 1 point above West Ham. And you look at Marco Silva. No, I can't see Marco Silva going. I can't. I hope not, because I think he's done really, really well. I think Fulham have done brilliant. So I wouldn't be making any changes if I was into it at the moment. I'd wait till I'd wait till the new year. But you know what football's like. Yeah.